hello, and welcome to another Monday and another session of Let's Get Real with Mona. That's me, Mona Naidu. I'm an abundant living coach, a women's empowerment mentor, an international and inspirational speaker, human behavior specialist, a philanthropist. And I recently added this, an advocate for humanity. Well, I've been a legal advocate in South Africa. You know what an advocate is. In the UK, it's the equivalent of a barrister. And I've always stood up for those who were unable to speak for themselves, victims of crime. So I'm an advocate for humanity, and that's what I'm going to go with this year. All right, so thank you for joining me today. It's the second week of January 2023. Now, how's that been for you? How have you been feeling? Are you into the flow of this new year, or are you still feeling the wobbles? Well, I just want to tell you, if you're still feeling the wobbles, it is normal. It's okay. There's a few planets that are acting up at the moment. There's Mercury in retrograde. I think Mars is still in retrograde and goes direct soon. Then Uranus is there as well. So lots is happening in the cosmos. And I guess we're speaking about the cosmos because our theme for this year is all about spiritual wealth, and our specific topic or subject matter for this month is about spirituality. And yes, in this Let's Get Real with Mona series, it's all about teachings and stories to inspire you to turn your dreams into reality. So, are you ready for today's session? Now, if you know by now, you know me, and you know that I show up every Monday, or almost every Monday, unless I'm traveling or the universe says that I've got to take a break this week. So almost every Monday I show up with a question. And if you're in my private Facebook group, Alchemy of Abundance, you will see the question pop up almost every Monday if technology works. And yes, this year I will show up with teachings about spiritual wealth and help you to connect to your true spiritual wealth and help you through that to align to your abundance. You see, because we may know things, but we may not know things. We may think we know things, but things have changed over the last year. You have changed over the last year. Hey, you've changed over the last week. So to be in flow with the constant change that's happening around us, we must be willing to look at things differently. We must be willing to expand into the next level of us. We must be willing to allow the next level of our abundance that wants to show up. And yes, my question for today is about what was your experience in your childhood regarding spirituality. And today's session, we're going to be looking at our childhood experiences and how that childhood experience about spirituality could be affecting your current life and the flow of your abundance. Now, just to recap what spirituality is, if you haven't yet watched the previous session, I would encourage you to go there because I went into more detail about what spirituality is. I gave some examples and also shared my view on what spirituality is. So according to the Oxford Dictionary, this is just a recap, it's the quality of being concerned with the human spirit or the soul as opposed to material, physical things, right? Now, for me, spirituality is all about our interconnectedness. It's about knowing who I am. It's about understanding who you are. It's about understanding how we are all interconnected with the cosmos, with the greater world. It's about understanding that I am part of something bigger. You are part of something bigger. We are part of something bigger. And knowing that we are constantly co-creating everything around us, that it's not, our growth and expansion is not linear, that we are not limited. And when you think about your childhood, how was it for you? How did spirituality feature for you? Well, let me tell you a little bit about my childhood and about spirituality. Now, if you're like me, most of us grew up here in my community around the time that I was growing up. Well, there was no such thing as an understanding of spirituality as such, but it was how, we were taught about religion. And not really even taught about religion. We were just told that we had to do this or had to do that on specific days without any explanation. Well, that's the family that I grew up in. Maybe it was different for you. I was told that I had to do certain things, and if I didn't do it, well, then I would be punished by God. So can you imagine how I grew up? I was terrified of God, this other being that was over me. I was terrified that I would get into trouble or I would do something wrong. It would not be pleasing to God. So that was my interaction with so-called spirituality, because it was through religion. And it was either you had to conform to it or you were seen as someone that was a rebel. If you didn't do what was according to the religious principles or pretexts, then you were considered to be like, showing up and being evil or something negative. So what do you think it was? How was it for you? Now, when we think about spirituality, right, we're talking about having this experience, knowing that we are actually miracles. Yes, when we are born. Were you ever told that you are a miracle? Now, right now, there is a movie on Netflix. Yes, I do watch Netflix. That is my way of connecting to the wisdom that wants to come to me. That's my way of my downtime when I'm not having to be so focused on expanding my consciousness. But you would be surprised. Every movie I watch has some kind of significance for me. So on Netflix, there's a new movie, Matilda the Musical, and it's a 2022 movie. Please watch it. And it's more especially for parents, because the short story of it is that through that movie, there were all these children that were told that they were miracles. Their parents were so happy, so excited that they were there. And then there was Matilda, whose parents were horrified that she was born. And worst of all, that she was not a boy. Now, all these other children grew up knowing that they were miracles. And Matilda thought that there was something wrong with her. Now, this is a really beautiful teaching about spirituality, especially when we think about children and how our childhood influences who we are today. Right? If we were told that we are infinite, now, do you think that we would go around life struggling with everything? Do you think we would have health issues knowing that we are infinite and we are connected to something greater than us? We are connected to healing frequencies. Do you think that we would be ill? We would tap into that, right? But just think about this, knowing that you're a miracle. That in itself is such a gift, because we understand that we are a gift to this world. And imagine every child knowing that they are a gift to their families, to this world, and that each of them, each of us, is a piece of a puzzle in the bigger puzzle that is humanity. We would show up very differently. So I'm going to ask you again, how was your childhood? Did you experience spirituality in the vastness of what that word actually means? Were you told you were a miracle? If you were, fabulous. Were you told that you are beyond your body? If you were, that's amazing. Were you told and taught that you were more than your personality? Right? Because if you were like me, and this is not blaming my parents, they could only do what they knew. I grew up in a society where everybody just did what they knew to do. If you were praying on a Monday or you were not eating meat on a Monday, it was because that's what was taught to them. So even though Monday is a day for Lord Shiva in the Hindu culture, right? I didn't know why I was really praying to Lord Shiva, so I was a rebel. And no one thought that it was necessary to even explain it to me, to understand what Lord Shiva actually represented. So if you went to church on a Sunday or you went to mosque on Friday or a specific day, did you know why you were actually going? Did you know your connection to this greater force that's out there? I didn't. And I know that there's so many people out there. We've had to come on our own journey. We are still, like me, I'm still in the process of discovering who I am. So as a parent, do you sit around with your children right now? And if you don't have children, do you sit around with other people looking at what spirituality means for you, what they think about it? Because I can guarantee you, this world would be such a different world if we taught our children from a young age to appreciate their infinite nature, their expansive nature, for them to understand that their soul, their physical body, that they are more than their physical body, that there's their soul, there's the spirit, there's the mind, there's their energy body. We would have empowered people on this planet. We would have a world that understands and connects with what the word unity means, what peace is about, what love is about. We would have people walking around with expanded hearts. Now, if you grew up in a community like I did, that made you believe that you were less than, and remember, I grew up in apartheid South Africa. So whether it was coming from the family, the community you were in, the government that was telling you that you are less than, well, what do you think happens? Unconsciously, you believe that that is true. So even though you move ahead, even though you take certain steps, there comes a time in your life when you are to awaken to your spiritual wealth, that you will find that there may be certain blockages in your life. You may find that there's certain challenges in your life, certain obstacles in your life. Now, if you weren't aware what these are initiations, and we'll speak about initiations some other time. But they come there because it's part of our spiritual awakening. So if we did not experience this whilst we were growing up, if we weren't exposed to more than our religion, if we weren't exposed to our interconnectedness, if we weren't taught how to have empathy for others and to think beyond ourselves, well, now's the time. And not having that impacts how we show up in the world now. Not having that impacts how we give and how we receive. It impacts the flow of our abundance, because these little things form blocks in our lives. These beliefs become like huge boulders in our way that we have to go dig deep to remove. So how was it in your childhood? Did you sit around speaking about, our expansive nature? And if you didn't then, well, how's it showing up in your life now? And if you have children, I would encourage you, don't be fooled. They may be little, but these are wise teachers that have come into our life. And it doesn't matter what the age of your child is. It's important for us to be doing this more so in these days than we've ever done so before. Because remember, the average school we have out here, whether it's private schools or public schools, the average schools don't allow our children to expand their spiritual wealth or connect with their spiritual wealth. It's actually blocked. It's suppressed. So how's that landing with you right now? I want to share this quote with you by the Buddha. Just as a candle cannot burn without fire, man cannot live without a spiritual life. So we have to encourage this in the youth around us. We have to encourage this in the children around us. We have to get them to start understanding from now already how to show up for themselves and everyone else around them. Now, be aware of that. We aren't telling children that they must become responsible for others, but understanding that every word, every thought, every deed, every action, every omission impacts not only us, but everyone and everything around us. And imagine if children grew up knowing how expansive they really are. Can you imagine the genius that would be activated in them? And just by the way, not connecting to spirituality or our spirituality, or even being taught about that from our young ages, from our childhood. Do you know it actually impacts our genius? Yes. It impacts how we use our executive brain. It impacts how we think, how we feel, how we express. And what do you think follows all those things? If it's a positive way that we interact with our expression, how we feel, how we express, think, how we do things, well, the flow of our abundance will be positive. If it's suppressed, repressed, oppressed, well, what do you think happens? Our flow of abundance will be suppressed, repressed, oppressed. So can you see how our spiritual wealth is so intertwined with our physical wealth? The one cannot exist without the other. So I want to leave you with that today. But I'm going to encourage you to watch the movie Matilda, the musical. It's actually fabulous. But it's the perfect example right now of understanding how it doesn't matter what our age is, to remind ourselves that we are miracles. We are a gift to our families. We are a gift to this world. And for you to take some time and look at your childhood. Look at what you were taught or not taught about spirituality. And look at how that could be impacting your life right now. And if you require any assistance with that and going on that journey, well, reach out to me. You can DM me and we can set something up. But I'd love to hear what resonated with you today. I'd love to know what aha moments you had. And I'd love to know how you are going to connect with your spiritual wealth this year. So until next time, Ciao for now.